AC.com. 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 AC.com.
All right. A great Monday afternoon to you. Welcome to game week. Your Arizona Wildcats are going to be on the football field
Monday afternoon
5
to you.
days.
Welcome to game week.
About
Your
3
Arizona
hours.
Wildcats
Really,
are gonna
about
be
3
on the
hours, 4
football
hours
field
from now.
Monday afternoon
For their
to
first
you.
game of this
Welcome to
2023
game
season to
week.
take on the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. We are coming to you live from the CNWT. And I believe for the first time, we are streaming live for you on Facebook. I see it anyway. I'm sorry, on YouTube, not Facebook. I couldn't figure out the Facebook stream, so we'll have to see maybe if we can get that going tomorrow. We're already off to a flying start. My main mic not working, so I'm on a backup microphone here today. But hey, it's Monday, and we have got college football for you coming up this Saturday here in Tucson. You'll remember this was not a pleasant game 2 years ago. The Arizona Wildcats lost to Northern Arizona for the first time in like 90 years. You'll hear Jed Fish and his thoughts on that today. He had his first weekly press conference. They've moved it back a little bit this year, so it actually backs up almost right into our program. Had to wheel over to the campus, chat with Jed, and then wheel back over here to the CNWT, and literally had about 55 minutes to finalize and get ready for you today and this program. But you'll hear from Jed Fish, his thoughts. He talked about the loss 2 years ago to Northern Arizona and kind of how that set the tone for where this program has come to at this point. You'll also hear from Montana Lamonius Craig today. Montana is a young man who is trying to vie for that third wide receiver spot. I would think he's got it, but maybe not. Jed Fish was not necessarily committal to that today. He said that there is still some work to be done. Still has not decided who that number 3 receiver is going to be. We saw A.J. Jones stand out a lot in camp, so it could be him. That remains to be seen. You'll hear from Jed Fish on that. You'll hear from Montana Lamonius Craig. You're also going to hear from the sitting Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, plays quarterback at that school in downtown Los Angeles. They opened their season over the weekend. Just the second time, I won't say the second time in my life, but the second time since 1986 that a football season opened for the team in downtown Los Angeles, and I could really give a damn. Did not watch a single minute of it. Heard Dorian Singer, though, scored a touchdown. Congratulations for Dorian. A lot of former Wildcats and Wildcat alums. And there's a distinction. And I'll talk a little bit about that, too. If you've been following me here in this community for the going on now. This is the beginning of season number 16, covering Arizona athletics and Arizona football. One of my things that I do not refer to Arizona athletes, or at least some of them, is as former U of A players. Because once you're a Wildcat and you get your degree from this university, or you end your career at this university on the playing field, you are a Wildcat for life. So you often hear me refer to our athletes as, such as Glenn Howe, who will be appearing with us throughout the football season, analyzing, breaking down U of A football. You often hear me refer to him as U of A class of, and then the final year he appeared as a football player in the Cardinal and Navy, which was 1985 in his case. The only time you'll hear me refer to an athlete as a former Arizona Wildcat is if they played here but then left the program, didn't graduate leaving the program, and went and played somewhere else. Guys that would fall into that category, like maybe a name you're going to hear maybe this week, Emmanuel Acott, who's playing in the FIBA World Championships. Who's he playing for, J-Dub?
Ooh, Emmanuel Acott, I do not have that in front of me. I think it was, oh man, I don't even know. I know he's like from Canada, but that's not who he's playing for.
Okay, well, we'll figure out who Emmanuel is playing for. A lot of outstanding performances in the FIBA World Cup for Arizona Wildcats and ex-Arizona Wildcats. I would refer to him as an ex-Arizona Wildcat because he did not finish his career here. He went on to and play at two other colleges after he left here, Boise State and Western Kentucky.
Reuben Douglas is the guy who comes to mind for me.
Reuben Douglas?
I'm an old head.
All right, well, but that's going way. I don't even know that I know that name, J-Dub.
Yeah, there's been a few guys, DK, because of the ability for coaches present and past to recruit well, that oftentimes they would have more athletes on the bench than maybe there were minutes to go around. So it doesn't mean that if somebody transferred out in those days, or today's, wide receiver core is another good example of that, DK, didn't mean that they weren't really, really good. And Reuben Douglas is the one who went on to lead the nation in scoring, if I'm not mistaken, after he left Arizona. So, yeah, quite a few players, former Wildcats, who left here midway through their careers because maybe the writing on the wall was that they weren't going to get quite the playing time they wanted here on campus.
Yeah. So guys that fall into that category, now again, there are guys that got their degrees but went on and played somewhere else. Graduate transfers, it's become a thing in the last 7 to 10 years in college athletics. Guys like Tony Fields. To me, Tony Fields is a Wildcat for life. Played 3 seasons here, got his degree in 3 seasons. Not an easy thing to do for a student athlete, but then went on and finished his career at West Virginia. Now a member of the defense for my Cleveland Browns. To me, Tony Fields, even though he finished his career at West Virginia, is a Wildcat for life. Because he came here, he put in 3 years, he left with a degree. Isaiah Rutherford, who we saw have a pick 6 this weekend for his new school, UMass, playing for Don Brown, Dr. Blitz. How about Dr. Blitz and his kids coming west to New Mexico State and getting a win in week 0? Isaiah Rutherford is a Wildcat for life. He transferred in here from Notre Dame. He was here, I believe, 3 years, 2021, 22. He got his degree and then decided to leave. He counts as a Wildcat for life. James Akenjo, he's a former Wildcat.
Reuben was right before your time. He led the NCAA in scoring in 2002, 2003 for New Mexico after he left the U of A. Also, South Sudan is the country that Emmanuel Acott is suiting up for.
Wow, South Sudan.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he was born and raised and from Canada, but South Sudan, he obviously has some relatives. So he's playing for South Sudan in this year's FIBA World Cup.
All right. I think there's 11 Arizona basketball alums who are playing in the FIBA World Cup this year. So we will keep you up to date on what all of them are doing. Big news in the NFL today in terms of your Arizona Cardinals. Right after we went off the air, we talked Friday about the deal that sent Isaiah Simmons out of town. Right after we went off the air, the Cardinals completed a deal with my Cleveland Browns to get quarterback Joshua Dobbs out of Tennessee. He played for the University of Tennessee. He's also played for the Tennessee Titans, and he is suited up, but I don't think he's actually ever seen the field for the Cleveland Browns, although he's been there in camp with them and was on their practice squad and was a backup. But I don't think he ever actually played in a game for the Cleveland Browns. But Joshua Dobbs was acquired, and as a result of that, today, the Cardinals cut Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy released. Teams are required to get down to 53. It's interesting they're required to get to 53 tomorrow, even though we still have a week and a half before the season actually starts next Thursday night football, which you'll hear right here on Wildcats Radio 1290. You will hear Thursday night football and Sunday night football this year. I could tell you something, but I might hold on to it. We tried to go after a singular team, but it didn't work out for this year.
Is
But
it the Steelers?
I'm hoping it might work out for next year. It was not the Pittsburgh Steelers. No. We had to get some people to sign off on it. One group did. The other group we never heard back from, apparently. So that didn't really quite work out for the singular team that we went after. So we'll be carrying the Westwood One package of Monday Night Football again this season, but only Sunday nights and Thursday nights, because obviously Monday nights is the Jed Fish Show. Jed Fish will talk to you for the first time tonight at 6:05. That'll be right after our program. So we've got literally 4 hours of local programming for you every Monday night. You'll be with us from 3 to 6. Jed Fish and Brian Jeffries will have you from 6 to 7. All right, you heard J-Dub. DragonBall David Amata. Since we're on TV now, I can show you his seat. It is empty. You can see there's nobody sitting in that seat right there. He is still on the SL being the sick list. Hopefully we'll have DragonBall back tomorrow. But we do welcome in the third member of our program. And folks, just to remind you, we are streaming now here on YouTube anyway. We'll see if we can get the Twitch and the Facebook and all that going in the next few days as well. I'm the one running the cameras in here. I just want everybody to know that, okay? I'm talking on this show, and I'm also running the cameras. And sometimes I may forget to change a shot. That's going to happen, okay? So I don't want people out there yelling at me, oh, why is the camera still on J-Dub? He's not even talking anymore, okay? So just relax. I spent a month. We didn't stream until today because I literally have spent a month and a half practicing this camera work here that I've got to do with this stream. Every day we were just doing it as if we were streaming, but not actually streaming. Now we are. But the fourth member of our program, she's the third today. We'll bump her up a spot. Kricket.
Oh, thank you.
Joins us. Kricket, what's the best thing you did this past weekend?
I walked homeless dogs at the Pima Animal Care Center.
Okay.
What about you? What'd you do?
Now, do you are you always at PAC, or are you at sometimes across the next door here at Humane Society too?
No, I'm just a volunteer at PAC.
Okay, you're just okay. So you don't do both of those.
No.
But you could you do that over here next door? The Humane Society, for those of you who don't know, we're located right next door to the Humane Society here on Rogers Road. Do they do the same thing, though?
Yes.
So people can go in there and walk dogs as well?
Yeah, they have to go probably through some training and waivers and probably stuff like that.
So
but
have you found, I remember when we first started this, you walked a dog, he got adopted. So have you found like a new best friend now that you, okay, so tell us about it.
I do. It's Susie Q. She's been there for a really long time. So
Okay.
I've known, we go way back. She's my girl, though.
Susie Q.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I know obviously, so Susie has obviously, unfortunately, not been adopted yet.
Right.
Okay, so what can we say to get Susie Q adopted? Is there anything we can say to get her adopted?
Well, she was adopted for 7 days. She's very fearful. She lived outside her whole life and then was surrendered. Someone adopted her, took her home for 7 days, and she just stayed in the corner at the house.
I think you did say that once before, yeah.
So she definitely would need a patient home, someone that would let her come around on her own. You know, she's probably not going to be climbing into anyone's lap right away, but she'll run up to me. She wants to climb in my lap. I mean, and I only see her like 30 minutes once a week. Like, so if she can bond with me in that environment, I know she could bond with someone else, but just a little time, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to, is there like, can people go online and see Susie Q? Do they have to go there to see Susie Q if they wanted to kind of see what she looks like? How would that work?
Yeah, they could go on like the Pima Animal Care Center, like social medias, and she's probably posted somewhere, or I believe they could go to Pet Harbor and search for Arizona or Tucson animal shelter dogs. And they could also go to PAC and do that too, to meet her there.
Okay, I'm going to put your solo camera on now. How do you feel now? You are on
I'm nervous.
TV. You are a bona fide TV star now there, Cricket.
Now you're making me nervous. Don't do that. Stop saying that.
She's getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. Silver Lake east of Mission, a building fire. You might see fire crews on scene on Silver Lake east of Mission. Reported collisions Park Avenue north of Valencia. Also a wreck eastbound I-10 frontage road at Orange Grove. Road work there as well. Eastbound side of I-10. Some slowing as you approach and pass Ina. An excessive heat warning until 9 tomorrow night. 15% chance of rain today. 82 overnight low. 106 partly cloudy right now. And I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
This report.
to put my camera on. See, that. There we go. 25 minutes into the show, I forgot to change the camera off the break sign there.
I think you just need some duct tape. That's all we need.
So Rondé's playing for Jordan, and when you kind of looked into that a little bit, J-Dub, like how that works for him that he's playing for Jordan.
I tried to look into it, DK. I was assuming, because a lot of times you'll see players come out of the blue. Because I know where he's from. We watched him, obviously, quite closely when he was in high school. And the thing is, I never knew of any connection to the country of Jordan. It looks like there's a citizenship process where you can apply. And I know that he didn't play for any U.S. men's senior teams for the U.S. So I believe that's the case, DK. I think it's a situation where if you play for a men's senior national team, then you cannot play for a different country. However, I don't believe he has. I think he played for the U18s at one point, because I know he was a very highly regarded player, obviously coming out of high school. But yeah, he's been the star. He's been the do-it-all guy for Jordan. 39 points. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. I do have one highlight if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
He did this, DK, at the end of this final game. Is actually yesterday. Leans in is what Rondé does on a lot of his shots, and this lean in was a beaut.
Hollis Jefferson can create, so he's definitely going to put it up. The three, he's fouled! You cannot be serious! Has just made the shot of the FIBA Basketball World Cup.
So team's down by 4. There's about 12 seconds left in the game. Team down 4. He brought the ball all the way up the court, DK, and did a little inside-out dribble, leaned into the 3, nailed it, and the foul, made the free throw. Games goes to overtime, but they actually did end up losing that game. They are virtually eliminated as well with 2 losses for Jordan, but they're in the same group as the United States and Greece. So the chances of Jordan coming out of that group to begin with were pretty slim.
You cannot be serious.
Can't be serious.
Chalk flew up. All right, so we've got Rondé. Then you've got Dusan Ristic, who is playing for Serbia. And obviously, Dusan had a great career here, played, I believe, an entire 4 seasons here as well. And is indeed, I mean, he is a big-time Wildcat for life. Unfortunately, though, his team did not do very well this weekend.
Serbia actually has done well. Serbia, I think they're 2-0. I'd have to double check. They're playing with Puerto Rico, China.
It was Finland that lost to Japan.
Finland is out. Yeah, Finland's lost twice. So Lowry very well could be going home. It goes by so fast, DK. I mean, they just started this on Friday, and there's already, a third of the field feels like they're already eliminated because they only play 3 games in this group stage. There's 4 teams per group. And more or less, if you're 3-0, you're through, obviously. 2-1, you get through with the tiebreakers and all that. But if you're 0-2 at this point with 1 game remaining, especially for them, they have to play the Finnish national team, I believe, is next up against the Americans. So that's probably not going to go super well.
And Emmanuel Acott, we mentioned him in the first segment, playing for South Sudan, and they played today against China. And Emmanuel is not considered a Wildcat for life because he left and played for a few schools. And we've also got some Wildcat connections on the coaching staff. Obviously, Steve Kerr is coaching the Team USA ball club over there and has won, 4 NBA titles?
Countless.
Yeah, with the Golden State Warriors. And Ricardo Foyce is also coaching with Italy. And he is on Tommy Lloyd's current staff here. So a lot of U of A connections, alums, former players, as well as current staff taking part in this FIBA World Cup for 2023.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's always a lot of representation from former Wildcats and alumni in these tournaments because, the spread of Arizona in the NBA, former Wildcats in the NBA, goes back 35 years. Watching Kerr, obviously, on the sidelines, and all the guys, it's interesting to me, DK, because there's a lot of young players. Larry Markkanen is still a very young man. I think he's 26. So there's still a lot of, and by the way, the best Finnish basketball player ever at 26. It's a good title to have before the age of 30. He obviously has dominated. I think Finnish international Larry Markkanen's always been my favorite because they've really, much like the Utah Jazz did last year, let him kind of have the ball out and create with it off the dribble in a three-point stance, which he did not have the option to do in Chicago. So watching Lowry with the Finnish team, but they just do not have they don't have the depth and a lot of talent surrounding him. So many of these international teams, DK, they just stay together for 10, 12 years. You think of Argentina and Spain and some of these teams recently, even the Australians obviously have had some guys who have stuck together for such a long time. A lot of veteran and a lot of NBA games, a lot of international games experience for much of these teams. So as far as the U of A guys go, a lot of those names you mentioned, they may not be household leading scorer type guys on their teams. And certainly when it comes to Akot and Rondae, I didn't know that they were even playing for those teams going into the week because I didn't know about the association with those countries beforehand, but definitely well represented in the FIBA World Championships.
All right, 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. If you want to chat about what you have seen in the FIBA World Cup, U of A related or not, you can call that number. You can text the program at that number. You can also reach out to us on email. That's studio@wildcatsradio1290.com. Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is at Wildcats Radio 1290. Twitter is at Wildcats 1290. You can do all of that and interact with the program. Our question of the day. We've waited until week 1 to ask this question. It's the only question. It's the best question before the start of any football season. How many wins for your Arizona Wildcats football team this year in 2023? We've done it as a poll. So you'll have 4 choices. Is it going to be 8 wins? Is it going to be 7 wins? Is it going to be 6 wins? Or is it going to be 5 wins or less? Now, J-Dub, the first time I took a look at the schedule here, I counted, and then this was way back in April.
Right.
Okay, the first time I looked at it, just first time through, I just counted out WL, WL, WL. And I counted 8 the first time I did it. I said 8. I was like, well, I mean, again, if some things need to happen, but I see, and I still see, like I said, some things need to happen. But I see a potential for 8 wins on this schedule. Now, that doesn't mean I think they're going to win 8 games. But that's the potential of what I see on this schedule. We'll get into a little bit later. I'll give you an exact number a little bit later. And, J-Dub, I'll let you take a look at that unless you have a number already that you want to give.
I don't know if I'm ready to give a number, but I do see something very interesting about the schedule is that they have 8 opponents, DK, who are unranked in the preseason, and all the other opponents are ranked in the top 16 in the preseason. So you're talking about 8 wins potentially on the schedule. You're looking at a top 10 ranked Washington and USC that the Arizona Wildcats have to take on, along with Oregon State and Utah, both thought of highly in the preseason polls anyway, which, as we've seen over the last few years, aren't always the be-all, end-all. But if you're talking about how many wins, I'm always an eternal optimist. So I'm always going to hedge on the positive side of things. But 8 unranked teams, it's certainly not like you're looking at a schedule, DK, where you've got nothing but juggernauts coming through. So there's, Arizona obviously much, much, much better than they were 2 years ago and much better than they were last year. I expect a bowl season. I don't know about win numbers, but I do see 8 unranked teams coming up on the schedule this year.
All right, well, we'll go line by line a little bit later in the program because, as I said, we are now 3 hours here, joining you at 3 o'clock. We'll take you up until 6 o'clock, the Jetfish Radio Show, the first Jetfish Radio Show of the season, coming up at 6:05, live from the Union Public House up near my neighborhood. So kind of get on over there and see Jet. It's a great venue to watch a program and to have some good eats and maybe a few pops as well. So that'll be coming your way at 6:05. So far, we're early in this poll. How many wins for your Arizona Wildcats football team this season? So far, 44% say 7. 28% say 6. 22% say 8. And right now, the 5 or less coming in at just 6%. So right now, 7 wins is what is what most people think is capable and doable for this Arizona Wildcats football team this year. That'll be a 7-5 regular season, and that would get Arizona back to their first bowl game since 2017. Getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather. Here is Kricket.
From the O'Reilly Show.
Step on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Sorry, guys. We're having some difficulty here with some mics today for some reason.
I guess we're going to go to mic 2 now.
Perfect.
Oh, gosh. I just killed my camera there. This is just going so well. Mic 1 doesn't want to work today. Mic 2 doesn't want to work. Mic 4 suddenly doesn't want to work. And now we've got to get mic 2 going here, at least for this segment. All right. Well, we'll get that camera right there and see if we can figure things out. All right. Welcome back to the program here. If you're watching us on our stream, great day to start screaming when all of a sudden we've got multiple mics that don't want to work.
It's the best day.
That's just great. That's just awesome. But it feels like we're back at the first day of school, or at least the first day we did the program. Remember, Jay, the first day we did the program, we couldn't take any calls because stuff wasn't working, and now all of a sudden we have 2 mics that don't want to work.
I remember in our first opening segment of the program, DK, we had the president of the University of Arizona who was about to join us, and we couldn't take phone calls. So, yeah, that was not a good day either.
No. All right. Want to talk some U of A football. Obviously, we are getting into week 1 of the 2023 football season. Northern Arizona is on the horizon, and one of the interesting new players on this roster is Montana Lamonius Craig. And did we hear that at the top, J-Dub? I was kind of I was missing stuff, so I don't know if we played the initial cut on himself scouting himself. Let's first hear from Montana Lamonius Craig, who kind of was asked how he would scout himself as a player.
I would say I'm a playmaker. As a receiver, catch the ball, get vertical, get the yards that you need, continue to turn out first downs because first down equals touchdowns.
There you go. Now, he is arriving here at the U of A having played 3 seasons at Colorado. Last year, playing pretty much the full season, had just 23 catches last year for 359 yards, has 34 catches over his career for just under 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, the question is, Montana Lamonius Craig going to be the number 3 receiver on this team behind Jacob Cowing and Tetaroa McMillan? He's being pushed by A.J. Jones. We've seen a lot from Kevin Green Jr. in this camp. We have also seen the freshman Malachi Riley step up to the plate. And so, it's not going to be an easy thing, although to me it was a foregone conclusion that because he brings the only experience out of that group, he's the only one in that group that's actually caught any passes in college football. Kevin Green has not. Malachi Riley has not. A.J. Jones has not. None of those 3 have caught a pass in a college football game. Montana Lamonius Craig has. And so that's the reason that automatically you would pencil him in to that number 3 wide receiver spot. Well, he talked during camp about the kind of player that he is.
I would say I'm a playmaker. As a receiver, catch the ball, get vertical, get the yards that you need, continue to turn out first downs because first down equals touchdowns.
Coach Fish mentioned that you're good at breaking the tackle. Is that an important thing of not shying away from the contact?
I would say that's very important because as a skill position, you can't be afraid of contact because that's what a lot of skills are, so I pride myself on that.
How would you describe your relationship with Jaden Delora and how has that progressed?
As soon as I got here, man, me and Jaden hit it off. He's a great dude. He works hard. He's a great player. So, we get extra work, and he's a great guy just to hang around and be with, and he's a smart quarterback.
And how has this offense been different from other offenses you've worked in the past?
I would say it is real NFL style. It is very complex, but as we're constantly learning the offense, those guys are coming back with the year already on the offense, so they have a great feel for it already. I'm getting acclimated to it, but I would say the NFL style offense is very great to be involved in.
Well, what are you studying in school?
I just graduated in 3 years with my major in communication with a minor in sports media studies, and now I'll be going into the real estate development program.
What do you like to do outside of football?
That's always a tough one for me. You know, I eat, sleep, and drink football, but I would say I'm a big family man. I'm a family man. I like to spend time with my family.
What impact, if any, do you think your performance had in the spring game had on the opportunities that you were able to pursue?
I mean, I would say for me personally, it was just going out there and doing my job. You know, going into the game, that's supposed to be routine for a guy that knows he can do that. So, I mean, I went in there and did my job, and then it just so happened that hitting the portal afterwards kind of was a big deal. So, I mean, it did boost it, but that wasn't my intention. My intention was to go in, do my role, do my job, and help the team in the spring game.
Why do you think so many guys from Colorado left the program?
You know, I can only speak for myself, but I would say everybody has their own preferred fit. So, I mean, if they think it was in their best interest, I'd assume that's why they left.
Coach Fish was saying that one of the reasons he wanted to bring you in is he didn't think you'd have a big learning curve, that you already had adapted to a new system. What has it been like learning this system? How quickly do you think you can get fully up to speed?
I would say now being in college a good amount of time, you know, it's easier for me to pick up an offense because I've learned different offenses from being at Colorado with the different coaching changes. So, I mean, I would say I'm picking up the offense fairly quickly. You know, it is complex being NFL style, but it's nothing too hard. As long as you put the time in and go watch the tape, it's easy to pick up.
Montana Lamonius Craig, he only has one 100-plus receiving yard game in his career. It came last season in a Colorado victory over California. In fact, it was their first victory of the season. You'll remember the Buffaloes last year started the season losing their first 5 games, but were able to beat California at home. And I believe that might have been the week after they beat Arizona. Actually, it was the week after they lost. The Buffaloes came to Arizona last year and lost, and then they went home and beat California. Montana Lamonius Craig had 8 catches for 119 yards and 1 touchdown. So that's his lone 100-yard receiving game. But again, like you heard him say, the learning curve is for a guy that's had a lot of experience is going to be less than the learning curve for players who have not had much experience this season. And that is the case with the guys that are pushing Montana Lamonius Craig for that third receiver's position. So we didn't get a depth chart today. That's kind of become the norm for the Jed Fish regime. You know, in the past, that was one of the things you always looked forward to for that first press conference of the year, that first Monday press conference prior to the season opener. You would always look forward to that depth chart, but that's kind of not the way it works with the Jed Fish regime. They prefer to not release the depth chart weekly until the Thursday press conference. Now, in the past, at least under the Kevin Sumlin and the Rich Rodriguez regimes, we wouldn't get a second press conference during the week. You would just get that Monday. You wouldn't get a Thursday press conference, which is different. So at least you get that from Jed Fish, and then he chooses to release the depth chart later in the week. So we'll have to wait to see how it is listed. I'm not surprised. I would not be surprised if we see that famed depth chart word "or" listed next to Montana Lamonius Craig and maybe one of those other 3 wide receivers that I mentioned. That's certainly possible, and that's our big question. That has been my single biggest question going into this season is, are the Wildcats going to use more than 3 wide receivers extensively? And when I say receivers, I mean just wide receivers, not tight ends, not throwing the ball to Michael Wiley out of the backfield, not throwing the ball to Speedy Luke out of the backfield, not throwing the ball to Tanner McLaughlin or any other tight ends. Are they going to use more than 3 wide receivers? That is a huge question. We will begin to find that out. They only used 3 primary last year. The only other guy that caught a pass last year, Anthony Simpson, he's another guy that ended up on that UMass roster playing for Don Brown that came to New Mexico State this past weekend and got a win. And in fact, Anthony Simpson scored a touchdown for the Minutemen in that ball game on a fly sweep. You'll hear Jed Fish talk about that as well in the 4 o'clock hour. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. We gave you our question of the day for today. We will need to wrap up for you our question of the day from last week on Friday. And that was Arizona Wildcats. They've got 5 teams that compete in the fall. Football, soccer, which is a women's sport, volleyball, a women's sport, women's cross country, and men's cross country. The last 2 years, none of those teams, none of them have qualified for the postseason. It's one of the things that's kept this Arizona athletics program from consistently being a top 30 program nationally. Is you cannot have your fall teams not getting to the postseason. You can't put up a 0 in the postseason. Even the year that the Wildcats finished miraculously in the top 30, I believe it was a couple years ago, they finished 27th. And that was largely because all 9 of their spring teams qualified for the postseason. But that was a year that none of the fall teams qualified for the postseason. So our question of the day on Friday, we'll give you the results. Will 3 or more of those 5 teams qualify for the postseason this fall? And again, those 5 teams, football, soccer, volleyball, women's cross country, men's cross country. The results? 90% of you say yes. Fall is back. We will have NCAA tournament teams at the University of Arizona this fall. Let's hope so. Soccer got their first win of the year. Yesterday went up to Flagstaff, beat NAU by a score of 2-1. They are now 1-1-1 through their first 3 games. They'll take on Boise State and Kent State. Kent State, my mom's alma mater, at the Sun Devil Classic. That'll be coming up this weekend, so the ladies will be on the road. And then volleyball, I went to the game on Friday morning. It was not pretty. We'll get into their weekend and a whole lot more coming up. Our first 3 o'clock hour is in the books. We are streaming live on YouTube. It says YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. We are only currently on YouTube. So pop us on there, watch the show, and we'll have much more coming up for you. In fact, you'll hear from Jed Fish and his press conference. We'll replay that for you in the next hour. This is DK on the Sports Tip. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
Hour number 2 of the program here. It is game week for your Arizona Wildcats. U of A and Northern Arizona coming up for you. That will be this Saturday night at the stadium. We will be doing our pregame show live from the U of A Mall. It's going to be a festive time. It always is before Arizona Wildcats football games. Even more so festive for the season opener. Calvin Ifan, the captain, U of A class of 1998, will be back with us this season. Glenn Howe, my longtime partner in breaking down Arizona football. He continues. I believe this is the 11th year for Kelvin and Glenn, working together to provide your best Arizona football coverage on Wildcats Radio 1290. Glenn and I have been doing our thing together since 2010. Started on radio back in the day on the network pregame show. Took our talents to TV in 2011, first on Fox 11, and then continuing on Fox 11 when they merged with KOLD CBS 13. And then the last 4 seasons, 19, 20, 21, and 22 at News 4 Tucson KVOA. So we will continue to break down Arizona football like you can't get it broken down anywhere else in southern Arizona. 520-848-1290 is the number for you to get in on the program. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. The Arizona Cardinals today, they cut quarterback Colt McCoy. And we'll go a little bit into this. Now, Kyler Murray is not going to be, he is currently on the physical unable to perform list. He will not be activated prior to the roster deadline, which is 1 o'clock tomorrow. And so he will have to miss at least the first 4 games. There was initially some talk that maybe Kyler could be ready for the first game. I don't know that I ever believed that. I'm not sure that most people believed that. He went through camp on the PUP list, physically unable to perform because he hasn't really practiced at all. If he could have been activated and not kept on the PUP list before the roster deadline, he could have potentially been able to be activated in the first 4 games, but that will not happen. Once he is activated, however, whenever that comes, he'll get 3 weeks to practice and at that point be put on the 53-man roster. Now, if he's not ready to go, so essentially what that says is he'll have 7 weeks. Well, really it's 8 because he's got all this week, all this next week, which really doesn't count. Then you've got the 4 game weeks, and then you've got 3 weeks of practice. So it's essentially 8 weeks to get Kyler ramped up and ready to play. If he's not ready to go 21 days after he's activated, then he's got to go back on the PUP list, and he can't play for the rest of the season. So it's a 3-week window to get him ready to go. We mentioned that the Cardinals made the deal to get Josh Dobbs from the Cleveland Browns, and as a result today, they cut Colt McCoy just 4 days after they got Josh Dobbs. McCoy, 36 years old, first signed with the Cardinals in 2021, got most of the first team reps during spring and during training camp. But this new regime, Jonathan Gannon and company, apparently saw what they needed to see, and Colt McCoy is not going to be the guy. The question now is who starts for the Cardinals? Is it going to be Joshua Dobbs? Is it going to be Clayton Tune? I think we have our question of the day for tomorrow. Clayton Tune, the 5th-round pick, rookie, or Joshua Dobbs, the veteran backup? We had a chance to hear from the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals today. Let's hear from Jonathan Gannon and get his thoughts on the decision to cut loose veteran quarterback Colt McCoy.
Yeah, just like with every decision, we look at, the full body of work, evaluate our guys. Production goes into that, and felt like it was the best decision for the team to move forward with the guys that we have in the room to help us win a football game. Yeah, tough. I mean, and Colt's awesome. You know what I mean? He's a true pro. That's why he's played so long. Having gone through this process in a different seat a lot of times is a little bit different today because it's hard. You know what I mean? You know that they care. They put a lot of sacrifice and hard work into their craft. And but ultimately, I think if you're honest with them and they appreciate that, and they know that we're going to do what we have to do to try to do what's best for the team. So, but yeah, these are tough days. I don't think it's anything that he didn't show us. I think it was just, like I said, looking at OTAs and then training camp and the games, and just, like I said, the full body of work, which just feel like this is the best way to go.
Did you let him know before Saturday?
No, today.
How far are you along in the process of getting to that 53-man roster?
We're getting there. So we made some transactions today. We'll make some transactions in the morning. That's kind of the timetable that the NFL lays out. And then we'll get to that spot, I think, on Wednesday, and then go from there. But it's always, the roster is always in flux, you know what I mean? So you never know. And even talking to some guys today, you never know when you could be back up and playing. So, that's a very fluid thing, your 53-man roster and the practice squad spot. So I understand that.
Comfortable feeling on what Joshua Dobbs can bring, considering that you're going to have to make all these moves without getting him on the practice field?
Yeah.
From here until week one, is it a competition between Josh and Clayton, or is one, do you know who your starter's going to be?
Yeah, I think we got a plan in place, but I want to see them both play football still. This week we got some work, and then the following week we got some work, but I feel good where we're at.
Schedule this week, Coach, where are you in terms of the rest of the week with the players?
Yeah, so we have walkthrough tomorrow, then we're going to work on Wednesday and Thursday, and then they'll be off on the weekend. We'll get a bonus Monday in. That'll be Washington-based, and then they're off their normal day Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, travel on Friday night, and then Saturday we're in D.C. We'll do our mock game there because it's the 3-hour time change there, and then play Sunday. I mean, it's never easy for a new guy coming to a new team, but he's familiar with the system. He's familiar with Drew and and we feel good where he's at with that.
What has Drew and Liz said about him so far?
Say it again, Tyler.
What have they said about him so far, just having worked with him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to bring Monty and I aren't going to bring anyone in here that the character doesn't check out first. He's extremely intelligent, character's through the roof. He's actually a guy that we looked at signing in the off season, so we kind of did a lot of work on him back then. And when it became available, the transaction became available, we decided to make the move. Say it again.
How does his skill set fit the system?
Yeah, I mean, he's a mobile guy that understands the system, but he's a mobile guy that can make throws and play in the pocket and play outside of the pocket, so that's what we're looking for. We'll see. Yeah, he's somewhere. Yeah, I think so.
Will it be open competition between Clayton and Joshua?
Yeah, every spot's open competition.
In terms of that, when could it go until the end of next week before you decide who's starting?
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good plan in place, but I want to see them, both go through the next 2 weeks. But I think that how the plan that we have to evaluate that and to get that done, and the team knowing the why behind it, I think they're comfortable with it, but feel good about where it's at.
All right, that is the head coach of your Arizona Cardinals, and that is Jonathan Gannon talking about the decision to cut Colt McCoy, as well as the bringing in of Joshua Dobbs. Whew. I said last week, J-Dub, I thought this team was capable of maybe 7 to 9 wins. And that's still, I mean, again, it's all going to come down to whether or not you at some point get Kyler Murray back. But that was when I thought maybe they were going into this season with a veteran in Colt McCoy. And I like Josh Dobbs. Don't get me wrong. What I saw of him, what he's done in camps with the Browns, I think he's certainly capable. But it's going to be uphill sledding for this Cardinals team through the first 8 weeks of this season.
Well, what team, GK, on their third string quarterback, right, is looking at a bright future? I mean, Colt McCoy, for all he's done, is also, what, 37, 36?
36.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's going to be really rough, especially with this late stage, right? If you're talking about what they've been working on leading up into the season, cutting your presumed starting quarterback with Kyler Murray out this close to the first game, DK. I mean, my question is, what members of that locker room, right, were Colt McCoy guys and that kind of thing, where you get, with the 11th hour and you've got games coming right up, it's kind of hard to rally the troops around another guy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But, I mean, there have been a lot of people here that have been really impressed with Clayton Tune and what they've seen from him this preseason. If you're a Cardinals fan, what have you seen? What do you like about this young rookie taken in the 5th round? Clayton Tune. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Clayton Tune. Can he sing a tune for you? Played at Houston for 4 seasons. Out of Carrollton, Texas, a Texas gunslinger. And we've seen a few of those guys. Born in Plano. Fits the mold. 6'3", 220 pounds. And like I said, he's shined a little bit this preseason. So certainly he could be the guy. Maybe you run him out there and you have Joshua Dobbs as the backup to get you through this first 8 weeks of the season until you figure out whether or not Kyler Murray can come back. But as we mentioned at the top, Kyler Murray will not be activated off the PUP list prior to tomorrow's 1 p.m. roster deadline to get down to the 53, as Bruce Arians would like to say, the real Cardinals. The guys that have been out there on the field for the last 5 months, those aren't the Cardinals. The guys that walk through that door after 1 p.m. tomorrow on that 53-man roster, those are the real Cardinals. And we'll see which way they go with their quarterback to start the Jonathan Gannon era. Getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather. Let's turn it over to Kricket.
Wildcats Radio 1290.
The Jedfish Radio Show starts tonight at Union Public House up in the foothills. You can go up there, talk to the coach, hear from the coach on this exciting 2023 season. You will, in fact, hear from him coming up here in this segment as we'll give you part one of our Jedfish press conference from earlier today. The Jedfish Radio Show every Monday night at 6 o'clock. Right here, the only place you can hear it is on Wildcats Radio 1290, and you'll hear the first one tonight. Anxious to hear what the head coach has to say even more about his 2023 squad. All right, before we get to Jed, I want to wrap up some thoughts on the Cardinals. If you want to get in on the program today, you can give us a call, 520-848-1290. That's the number to call. You can also text that number to get in on the program. You can also interact with us on our Facebook and Twitter pages as well. We mentioned to you the Cardinals have cut veteran quarterback Colt McCoy. They made a couple of other roster moves today as they let go of cornerback Nate Hairston and safety Sean Chandler ahead of Tuesday's 1 p.m. deadline for all teams to get to the roster limit of 53 men. They also placed center guard Pat Elfland on the injured reserve, which likely signals the end of his stay with the team. Still a lot of moves to go as we get set for the final 53 announcement, which will be tomorrow afternoon. We'll have all of that for you. The Cardinals, although letting go of Colt McCoy, still owe him $2.25 million in guaranteed salary this season. We'll give you our question of the day one more time. You can go over to our Twitter page and vote in our poll, and that is how many wins do you think the Arizona Wildcats football team will have this season? How many wins? Is it going to be 8? Is it going to be 7? Is it going to be 6? Is it going to be 5 or less? That is the question of the day. We will let you know where we are. Twitter is, or X, or whatever. Whatever it is. It's down right now, so I cannot give you the current totals on the question of the day. But head on over to X, or just head on over to our Facebook page at Wildcats Radio 1290. You can write in a number there, or you can just call us at 520-848-1290 or text us and give us the number of wins you think the Arizona Wildcats are going to get this season. J-Dub and I will give you our thoughts on that coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We will go line by line, J-Dub. W, L, W, W, L, L, whatever. However you think it's going to go. We'll do that in the next hour. All right, let's hear from the head coach of your Arizona Wildcats. He held his first press conference of the new season today, and here is a little bit of what he had to say about this 2023 team that he's got coming back and some of the positions that still have not been decided as we head in to game week.
New time work for you guys? New time's okay?
Yeah, 1:30. It's a little late for me, but okay.
Okay. New time seems to work good for everybody then. 1:30 is perfect. Great. Okay. So works best for us. So we'll stay with that. We'll go 1:30 today. And then we'll have the players tomorrow and the coordinators tomorrow, I believe. And then Thursday we'll reconvene and talk a little bit more about NAU, a little bit more about their personnel. I think by that point in time I'll have a pretty good grasp of everybody. But it's good that camp is over. It's good that we're no longer hitting one another. And we have now an opportunity to be in game week and start Saturday night is right around the corner at this point. It was nice to see football on Saturday. It was an enjoyable day to be able to watch and be reminded that college football is a great thing. And the chance to be able to get back out there this coming Saturday night is going to be amazing. I believe we'll have a great crowd. Sounds like we're over 44,000 or something like that right now. I know Zona Zoo passes are up 1,500 from last year. I think they're close to about 7,000 Zona Zoo passes are out right now. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And if we can keep that up, obviously, we've talked about for 2 years, can we get to this year 3 and make it a sellout season. So that's our goal. Our goal is to play really good football. Everybody's healthy, so I would expect that all 85 scholarship players will be ready to go. I don't think there's not that I can think of right now on our injury list, so all 85 players are ready. And we're expecting to have a battle on Saturday night. We had one a couple years ago. I think our team's a little different than it was a couple years ago. I know their team is different. It seems as if there's been a lot of transfers that have come and gone on both programs. But as you continue to watch their tape, what you do know is their head coach is an outstanding defensive coach. I've known Coach Ball for a while, or known of him, and he's been a Pac-12 defensive coordinator. And they brought in a new defensive coordinator from BYU, who's also done a great job defensively over his time, whether that be at Oregon State, whether that be at BYU and other places. And then they have the same offensive coordinator, Coach Pflugrad, that was there 2 years ago. I think he has some history with some of our coaches from USD days. So it'll be a good battle Saturday night. But our team is certainly excited about the opportunity to get back on the field and do a great job at home.
Lost 2 years ago to NAU. Was that when you kind of first realized the depth of what you were dealing with and having to rebuild this program?
Well, I think that 2 years ago, each week, you learn a little bit more about your team, where they're at as a program. Certainly, the last game in 2020, before we arrived, we recognized that this program was not in a good spot. And then you start losing a couple of the best players that played in that game or didn't play in that game, but with Brightwell going to the NFL and Lopez going to the NFL, and then really the rest of the team that was back lived that loss and then lived a bunch of losses throughout their college careers. So I certainly realized what a rebuild it was going to be. We talked about all year one. We called it year zero for a reason. We felt like we had to strip it down to the studs, start building it back up. I thought last year we made good progress in the build. And in that process of trying to get better every single week, finished winning 2 out of the last 3 last year, finished with some really good football players on the roster, and then added some more good players. So I do believe we're in a good spot this year going into this game, and recognizing that 2 years ago, it's certainly a different team.
You met with us post-game 2 years ago. What do you remember about the rest of that night?
I remember that I knew that we had to find a way to get better fast, and that we had to put that game behind us, as we have to put all games behind us that we don't win. And I think the rest of that night went into watching film and evaluating our talent and making decisions on what type of team we have, what type of team, how resilient of players. Are they willing to just see this game as one of 12 on the schedule? And were they able to find a way to come back and play extremely hard the next week, which they did. We spent our focus on that evening and all the other evenings. But yeah, you get to a point that there was this lingering black cloud over the program of a losing streak and of games that we didn't get a cut winning. We didn't win games that we thought either A, we could have won, or B, people expected us to win. And unless you're in that locker room, unless you realize where we're at, we were rebuilding it all. And now I think we're in a place that we have done a good job as a program. Our coaches have done a great job of bringing good talent. And our players have done a great job of learning our system. They've done a great job of taking care of their bodies. Our training room was packed today of guys just getting ready for game week. And I just love the players' attitude right now.
Looked to you over the last several weeks?
Good to go. So Jordan is fully medically cleared. And I expect Jordan to play at a very high level. He's used this time of his rehabilitation to get more football smart. He really did a ton of studying tape. He used this time to even improve his upper body strength even more. than it was prior. And obviously, he was one of the strongest guys on our team before he got hurt. But he had a huge focus on how strong he could get. He used this time to really take care of himself and get his life in a spot where now his full focus is on football. And I'm excited to see Jordan out there and being able to play.
What position battles stand out to you?
Position battles right now. I think that there's a lot of good battles out there right now. I think the wide receiver battle is still going on. Who the third receiver is going to be, who the fourth receiver is going to be, who the fifth receiver is going to be. Those guys are battling every snap. Thought Montana had a really, really good last week of camp. I would say that the running backs are constantly battling. Whether that be Jonah Coleman going in second, DJ going in second, Speedy going in second. And really, do they all have just their own little packages, or do we continue to let them just continue to compete and then see where Mike is? I would say that the battle is going on every day in terms of the defensive line rotation. There's about 7 to 8, maybe 9 guys that are rotating through on a consistent basis. The linebacker battle between Jacob Manu and Daniel Hamili and Justin Flo is going on a daily. And then we've got 4 safeties competing to play for 2. So we have depth we haven't had here for a while. And that has made it a lot of fun to be out of practice every day because there's a lot of competition.
All right, that is the head coach of your Arizona Wildcats, part 1 of our Jed Fish press conference recap there. And expecting, well, it's good. We've heard one of the things he said there, at least 40,000 tickets sold so far for the home open. You would hope you could get 45 there for the first game. Obviously, it's NAU, which is not a glamorous opponent, but still, it's the first game of the season. It's the opening game of the season, so you always want a big crowd on opening night. The Wildcats will go on the road to Mississippi State in week 2, an SEC opponent, which they hosted last year, lost to the Bulldogs here in Tucson, and then they'll wrap up the non-conference playing against UTEP, and that'll be in week 3 on September the 16th. Much more Jed Fish coming up after the break, and first and foremost, though, want to get you home every 20 minutes on the 5s with your traffic and your weather. Here's Cricket.
From the O'Reilly Show.
Toll-free telephone number has been established for you to rapidly check your eligibility. There are
All right, we got Pete checks in on the text line. He says, how did the former Wildcats, we don't call them former Wildcats, Pete. It's least if they left here as Wildcats. Some of them we call former Wildcats, but most of them are Wildcats for life. But how did they do in this year's draft? Free agents do this year? Did they make the cuts? Or are they on the practice squads? Well, first of all, Pete, the practice squads have not yet been finalized because those don't get finalized until after the 1 p.m. deadline on Tuesday. Now, the good news is I've gone through at least 7 pages of the cuts going back to probably Friday, and I have not seen any of the Arizona Wildcats who are currently in the NFL that have been listed as having gotten released. You may have seen Jace Whitaker had an interception this past weekend for the Washington Commanders. He is on that club trying to stick. He's been with the Cardinals the last couple of years as Jace Whitaker. Lorenzo Burns has been in camp with the Browns, another defensive back from the last few years. He's trying to stick with the Browns. Lucas Havrasek, saw him make a field goal this past weekend for the Indianapolis Colts as he tries to make his first NFL roster. So far, I've not seen any Arizona alums, any Arizona football alums that have been on the cut line. There have been some interesting names. Kenyon Drake, one-time Cardinal, got cut by the Colts. So there are a lot of veterans. Colt McCoy, we mentioned to you, and you heard from Jonathan Gannon, released by the Arizona Cardinals. This is also an interesting time just because of the veterans that you see get released during this time period leading up to the final cut-down day, which is tomorrow, 1 p.m. Trace McSorley, released by the Patriots. I believe he was in camp, veteran quarterback. He was with the Cardinals at one point, I believe, not too long ago. No real big shocking names. In fact, Colt McCoy might be the biggest shocking veteran name so far, just based on the situation here in Arizona and what many people thought that he was going to be the starting quarterback for the Cardinals to begin this season. But so far, Pete, the Wildcat alums in camp have escaped the Turk, as they like to call it. But again, the Turk looms until 1 p.m. So I would imagine we're going to see some names on that cut line come Tuesday. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. All right, we want to go back and hear the remaining portion of the Jetfish press conference today, his first press conference of the season. Let's return and hear more from the head coach on his 2023 team as they embark on this campaign and open the year against Northern Arizona Saturday night at the stadium.
Speaking of Flo, what's your assessment of what you've seen from him so far on the practice field?
Well, what Justin's able, he's probably one of the most explosive players that we've had here. Probably the most explosive player that we've had here. He is in an elite category in regards to his ability to run and hit. His ability to make plays on the ball, his ability to see a ball carrier, close the distance, and explode through a guy. What Justin's learning is the system, and he's learning how to play within the system. And he's had 3 different defensive systems in 3 years, and he's continuing to now get another system thrown at him. And what are the adjustments? And as a linebacker, you're responsible for being the play caller, so to speak, right? So you're the one that has to make formation adjustments and make decisions on the sets and what goes on around you. So he's working through that, but as a player, I think there's no question about his explosiveness and his energy that he brings.
On the other side, what has allowed Daniel to ascend?
Daniel has been very smooth every day. He kind of walks in the building. He knows what he has to do. He's been very aware of his responsibilities, of knowing the defense, of, making good calls in terms of as the guy that's setting the front, as the guy that's making the decision regarding the force. He's been excellent at that. He's been very poised as a linebacker. And he has really helped both the young secondary behind him and the D-line in front of him get in and out of the right defensive calls. So Daniel and Jacob and Justin all will have roles this game and beyond.
Doing the number 1 jersey again this year?
Right now, I think number 1 is going to remain retired. It has to be one that people really have. No one really said they want one. I think they're all content with the numbers that they have. So there's some guys that are coming in that might want one. There's some guys that I think on the roster that want one, but one goes to a starter. So we're just going to hold one right now, and if something changes, I will let you know.
With the whole situation at Iowa and Iowa State, and also what happened with Stanley Berryhill, do you guys have conversations about gambling?
Oh, yes. We brought in speakers regarding gambling. We brought in former FBI agent regarding gambling to talk about how it gets monitored and to how aware you must be. We brought the chief security officer of the university in to speak to our team. We have brought in general managers of NFL teams to talk about how it works in that league. So we've made a very clear decision how we must educate our players. And I saw what Kirk Ferentz said. I've seen what other guys have said in Iowa and Alabama and beyond, and it is a strange situation. But I will tell you that we have constantly reminded our players that you just can't gamble. Just don't try to figure out a way to do it. Don't try to figure out, well, what if it's UFC fighting, or what if it's, blackjack or whatever. But just don't do it. Don't do it. And if you don't do it, you got a great chance of not ever getting in trouble for doing it.
Your thoughts on the new clock rules and how they might impact games?
Oh, I love the new clock rules. I wish we just took the NFL timing and just did that. I think the NFL's got to figure it out on a lot of levels. I still don't understand why we fight that sometimes regarding trying to, I wish we put the field the same way. I wish the hash marks were the same, the goalposts were the same, and the timing was the same. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I think the game will – I don't know. I saw that the numbers were a little bit the average play numbers were down from like 68 to 65 or something like that, I think I read, which is good. Who wants to sit through a 3-hour and 45-minute football game? Sit through a 3-hour and 7-minute football game and enjoy every minute of it. And I think that's what we need. We need the games to go every about 3 hours and 10 minutes and go to the next one. And if we can do that and we can get the timing right, I think that's going to be great for everybody. It's going to be great for the fans. It's going to be great for you guys. It's going to be great for us. And I don't think we miss much by not stopping the clock on every first down, Jason, or some of the other things that they've adjusted. But for the most part, that's the biggest difference, is that we can actually just keep playing and the clock can keep running.
You mentioned watching games on Saturday, and just your thoughts on a bunch of your ex-guys winning the game for Don Brown.
Yeah, super cool. I thought that was great. I think we had 8 guys on our team that are over there now. It's a great opportunity for those guys. They got chances to go play and be involved in the games and in their 2 deep, and that's awesome for them and great win. I texted Coach Brown yesterday, congratulating him on the win. Thought that I watched a lot of the game, not all of it, but most of it. I love that Simp got the first touchdown on a fly sweep. I saw that. I saw the little RPO that he caught, and it was good to see that. And I think it was great. It was great to see those guys. I think Tyler Martin, he was blitzed the first interception. He was clean off the edge, forced them to throw an interception. I thought that was awesome. I was really happy for Tyler and his family. They're great people. And altogether, man, it was an awesome win for UMass, and I was really happy to see that.
All right, that is the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats, Jedd Fisch. The edict is simple, J-Dub. Just don't gamble.
I think that's been the edict for a long time, but now that NIL is involved, DK, yeah, I mean, it's just don't do it.
Yeah. There's nothing to be gained. Don't be Iowa. Don't be Iowa State. Just don't do it. There is nothing in college. It was interesting. We spoke last week to Francisco Romero, the longtime broadcaster for Arizona Wildcats football and men's basketball in Spanish, who currently does the same for the Houston Astros. And he was telling me, we were talking about this, and he was telling me this was off the air just when we were conversing, that he has to sign a waiver as a broadcaster in the major leagues that forbids him from doing any type of gambling. Like, he can't do football pools. He can't do NCAA pools. They cannot gamble at all as broadcasters in the at least the Astros apparently make their broadcasters. And that's the first time I've heard that. I'd be interested to go and see if other teams do that, because I'd never heard that before. But yeah, I mean, again, if you're working in sports, in terms of working for a team, you're kind of towing the line on some dangerous stuff there.
Yeah, football locker room don't bet. But as far as Francisco goes, what about those like Emmy awards? Who's going to be the first to slip on the red carpet type of bets? Can you do that?
I don't know. Yeah, I would think maybe that would be, again, that might be illegal or legal. I don't know. That's a very valid question.
It's not a sport.
J-Dub.
It's not a sport. DK.
It's not.
And the people who it is a sport to, it's not the kind of people you probably
I
want to have
won
a
an
beer
Oscar
with.
pool one time.
Did
like
you?
an Oscar pool like this. I used to work with this guy, radio guy back in Cleveland. His name was Bruce Drennan. And he was a big movie guy. He would have an Oscar pool every year, invite people over to his house to watch the Oscars, right? And so I'm not a movie guy. Never really have been since, like, I would go to movies when I was in grade school and college, but then the price went up above like $12, and
Sure.
I'm like, that's too much money for me to go watch a movie. I'd rather go to the club for $20 than go to a movie for $12.
Priorities.
Exactly. But and we'll talk more about this in the next hour. But I won his Oscar pool one year, and it basically was because at the time I was dating this girl, and she loved to go to movies, so I had been to all the movies. I'd seen them all that year. Then that was like probably the only time in my life that I'd probably seen like 10 to 12 movies in 1 year. And as a result, I won his Oscar pool. And he was so upset. He was like, you don't even go to movies. How do you win? How did you win this?
I thought for a second you weren't going to say that you and she had gone together, but that she had told you all the answers. I was like, that's the reverse of like, the person who's a secretary, gets the March Madness and asks her boyfriend or whatever to fill it out because she hasn't watched a single game all year long. That was the reverse of that.
All right, we'll update you on your Diamondbacks in the next hour. This is DK, the Sports Tip. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
His name, David Scott Kelly.
All right, we are reaching the first third hour of our 3-hour program.
You getting tired yet?
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet. It's been an interesting day. I gotta figure out how to do my day now that we're 3 hours versus just 2 hours. Got to get everything done. Mondays are generally busy. Obviously, we mentioned Jed Fish's press conference now is at 1:30, which kind of backs up on our show, which means I essentially have to have mostly everything done before I leave the building to go over to campus, which is around 12:45. And today was one of those days as we get ready for the first football game of the season where there's just a lot going on this morning. And so I got to figure out my new schedule. What's the best thing you did over the weekend, JW Madden?
Let's see. The best thing I did this weekend was I bought a stand-up freezer. It's a very adult purchase. We've been in need of one for a while. We got one of those really old, like probably 80s or 90s refrigerators. It works great. But the freezer is not big enough for our needs. So we had it on our need list for a while. Saw a really good sale, holidays coming up or whatever. So we got this fridge, bought it, DK. It was delivered less than 12 hours later. And what I did was I took Paige out, and we ended up spending the difference, which is about $300 on food to fill it up. So we didn't have a freezer, and one day and the next night we went to sleep with a freezer full of food.
So now, what kind of food are you gonna? Are you a steak guy? Do you like
I cook. I cook a lot. I've been cooking for 20, 25 years. So I liked a lot of raw ingredients and just to make my own stuff. But considering the fact that tonight I won't be home until 7:30, some nights you just don't have time to do all that. So I basically got a lot of, in case JW doesn't feel like cooking tonight type of stuff, just ready-made we actually got a lot of stuff from Trader Joe's, which is, just good frozen stuff to throw in the oven or whatever, and on a pinch, or some night you don't feel like putting in a ton of effort, that kind of stuff mostly.
All right. So is there something what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite thing that you like? Are you a grill guy? Do you just do everything? You grill and bake? And what are you?
My favorite thing to cook is literally just stuff on rice. So it doesn't matter what
stuff
cuisine.
On rice.
Yeah. So it could be.
I might have to come over your house because I love rice.
Right. So it could be like Jamaican style, island style, or it could be Mediterranean, or it could be even Mexican or whatever. But I like the idea of not soupy, but something that has kind of like a chowder
sauce on it.
Yeah, a little sauce on top of rice. Okay. And if you make too much, you can throw that in the freezer, and then one night again you're feeling a little lazier, you just pull it out and put it on top of rice, same as it was the first day you made it.
Got a little jerk chicken happening over there at the Madden household?
Well, it's been blackened chicken and fish for the last 7 consecutive birthday parties, I think, is what she always asks for. So a lot of blackened chicken for sure.
So you are cooking for your young lady's birthday all the time.
Yeah, well, we shared birthday week, she and I. So we kind of do a little bit of a joint celebration.
My wife's birthday is tomorrow. So we spent the weekend up in Phoenix, and she's a pool person, so she likes to, hang out at the pool when it was hot up there. But we found a nice Airbnb that had a really nice pool, and so we went and did that during the afternoon on Saturday. And then we went to an escape room. Are you into the escape rooms?
I have not done an official escape room, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I do like problem solving, so I would assume.
I think you would be good in it. You would be good in it. It's like, so the one we did was kind of an espionage type escape room. It was this government official, and he was, sending illegal documents and stuff, top secret information to bad people. And so we had to go in there and find the files, the hidden files with all the information.
The dead drop.
Yeah. And so it's interesting just because, they give you a lot of help. It's like some of the stuff, there's no way that I think we would have ever figured out without some help. And they kind of watch you. So you go in, and what was cool about this was like the first thing they did was they turned off all the lights, and they had the room had like those lasers, like the laser trips.
Right.
Exactly. So you had to navigate through the laser trips and disable those. So like my buddy, my wife and I went with one of my friends and his fiance. So immediately he just gets down on the ground and starts trudging through the office there and gets over to the thing, and he actually did trip the last one, and so but you can just turn it off. It's not like you're gonna get like the police are going to come or the bad guys are going to come and put a bullet in your head or anything like that, like would happen in the movies. But so he tripped it, but we turned it off. But then he found the button that turns off the trip lasers, and then you kind of start the whole process of trying to get to where you have to go. And it was interesting. There was like, they had a computer screen, and you had to put on these like 3D glasses to read what was on the computer screen to get clues and all of that kind of thing. It was the second time I had done one. We did one here in Tucson, downtown, back during the spring, and that was cool. It was kind of a 70s thing. We walked in there, and Soul Train is playing on the TV.
Nice.
Like just in a loop. It was Soul Train, which was one of my favorite shows growing up.
I just assumed that those guys want to run a setup that people enjoy and have fun.
Yeah.
So if you get really frustrated and it becomes a very unenjoyable experience. So as far as being helpful, I'm sure, DK, that there are people who are hardcore, escape roomists, and they just go city to city to try to see if they can get stumped. But it feels to me a lot like that. One clue leads to the next clue, leads to the next clue, leads to the next clue.
Yeah.
And if you love that sort of thing, then it's perfect for you. What happened to the Tiger mini golf situation?
Yes, so we did that. We ended up not going Saturday. We were initially going to do that Saturday night, but we went and did that yesterday, which was probably not the best thing to do because when we got there at like 11:30, it was already 103 degrees.
Right.
So we're out there like it's mini golf. It's miniature golf.
And
so
this
you're
is
done.
Scottsdale?
Yeah, it was in Glendale. It was at the Westgate Center, which is that big complex right next to State Farm Stadium and the arena where the Coyotes used to play. And so, Tiger Woods opened up a miniature golf, and it's really kind of fancy miniature golf. I mean, it's like literally like turf. It's like you're putting on turf. Like it's mostly green, but then they've got some white parts that are supposed to be the bunkers.
Right.
And, there was a red side, so there was the Tiger red course and the Tiger black course. And the black course was kind of just mostly flat hitting, and then the red course had some like hills and that kind of thing that you had to hit over. So I think when we left there, I was in like you can obviously we're 2023, so everything's on an app now.
Sure.
So you could put your name in and you could keep your score, and then you would go in and see where you were on the leaderboard. So when we left, I was number 3 on the leaderboard. My wife was number 5. But of course, we were among the first people that got there that day, so I'm sure we didn't last very high on the leaderboard. I think I have to look at my number, but it was not as easy as you would think it is.
It's probably you're probably got to be top 50 of 103 plus degree days on that leaderboard history, right?
Exactly. I mean, it was hot. It was real. And then there was like, and then they had these they had every like 2 holes there would be this what do they call the things you put the drinks in? Thermos, not thermos.
Cup holder.
No, when you go out to the gosh, man, I can't even think of what these things are called. Where when you go to the park and you want to carry your drinks, the cooler. Thank you. Can't even think of the name cooler. So there were these coolers like every 2 holes, and it had wet towels in it. Yeah. So you could get a wet towel, and then it was ice, but the ice hadn't really melted. So it was literally like you would like literally pick up this towel, and the ice would be stuck to it. And so then you would just put the ice and the towel on your neck, and then try to cool yourself off. So I made it through. We made it through the 18 holes, and then we went in and just kind of hung out in the shade. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's called Pop Stroke. And he named it that because he named Pop, which was what he called his dad.
Right.
And then Stroke just because they would always have, he said he grew up he and his dad would always have putting contests.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where the whole concept came from. So, Pop Stroke, I recommend it in Glendale. And we're going to talk a lot of pickleball the next couple of days. In fact, I want to get there's a pickleball complex, Corbett's, that's opening up downtown tomorrow. So we're going to try to get the Corbett's people on this show tomorrow. Pickleball is just taking over the United States. And that's another thing my wife started playing, and I started playing. And I love tennis, so pickleball is actually perfect for me because I like kind of racket sports. I'm into that whole thing. And so we went up, and there's these huge pickleball complex places where they're combining pickleball and food. And Westgate also has this place called Chicken Pickle, where most of the food is chicken based and that, but you can go and play pickleball. There was I don't know if you grew up playing Battleship. There was
Sure.
an outdoor battleship thing where you could, that was kind of cool too, and some other games as well that they had there. But man, pickleball is crazy. And the guy that started this chicken pickle, there's I think like 8 of them across there's mostly in Texas, Colorado, Arizona, and Missouri, which was where he was from. So he's a businessman from Kansas City, came out to Phoenix to visit a friend of his. His friend was playing pickleball, so he literally played it the entire week he was here, went back to Kansas City and said, there's a business here.
Right.
There's a business here, and got with his team and created this business, and now has all these places, and they're like, I think that's like I said, there's 8, and I think they're planning to open up like about 6 more in the next year in different parts of the country. It's like, that's what I mean, like that. I'd love to be that guy, the guy that just says, oh, how do you do something and then turn that into a lucrative business?
I don't know if this is statist, what I'm about to say, but when I think of chicken pickle, I think that is probably one of the first states that I would think of that would come to mind as being the origin of chicken pickle.
Exactly. So yeah, check out Chicken Pickle too. It's a huge complex with pickleball, food, and a lot of other interesting games that you can play.
How is your pickleball game these days?
Well, I've only played a few times. I think it's pretty decent considering. I mean, like I said,
got racket
I'm a
history.
tennis guy.
Yeah, if you
I'm
got
a tennis guy,
it's
so
that muscle memory, the
Right.
racket. I mean, if you play racquetball or tennis growing up, then pickleball's going to be a little bit easier to adapt to.
The big thing you have with pickleball, and obviously this was huge last basketball season because Tommy Lloyd got into it and was playing it as well. And apparently, and I asked, that was one of the questions I had Jed Fish at Pac-12 Media Day. It's like, have you beaten Tommy Lloyd in pickleball? And he said, well, it depends. They're apparently not on the same team. It's usually Jed and Clancy Shields versus Tommy and Ryan Stotlin, who's the women's tennis coach over at the U of A. But the ball doesn't bounce as high. So the thing that I frequently do is I miss it because you think it's going to come higher and it doesn't.
Sure.
And so you can miss it. So you've got to that's the one thing for me is I've got to be mindful of is this ball is not coming up. So I've got to be able to go down and hit it.
I was okay at racquetball, pretty good at tennis, but I was dominant at badminton. I don't think I ever lost a badminton game. You speak about coming up a little higher,
oh, wow.
DK. Something about that floaty nature and you could really lean and dive out for those shuttlecock when it was like this close to the ground. You know what I mean? Like you could really, and those rackets are so light. It just felt so different growing up playing tennis. I grew up right at the cusp of the era of old wooden tennis rackets, right into those new, what are they, neoprene or whatever they were made out of. So that light feeling for about some reason, it reminds me a little bit of table tennis, but yeah. It's been a minute. Maybe I don't live too far from the racket club. I know you said you had a membership over there, so maybe I'll have to dust off my racket skills and get out and do some pickleball one of these days.
There you go. There you go. Are you playing pickleball out there? 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290. Are you going to be down at Corbett's tomorrow, downtown Tucson, for the opening of that new fabulous location? I believe they have couple of courts outside, about 2 or 3 courts inside, so it's going to be kind of indoors, outdoors, and and they're also going to have food there, so it's going to be an interesting complex, and it's the first of probably many of those that are coming up here in the southern Arizona area. All right, getting you home every 20 minutes on the 5s with your traffic and your weather. Here's Kricket.
on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right. How about your Arizona Diamondbacks?
Diamondbacks download.
Baseball stuff! Baseball stuff!
And there's some breathing room for the Diamondbacks in the National League wild card race after they took the weekend series from the Cincinnati Reds, winning 3 out of 4. And the Snakes are now 12-3 since their 9-game losing streak. Arizona has gone back to 7 games over 500 at 69-62, and they have a game-and-a-half advantage for that third and final wild card spot over the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds. They are a half game behind the Chicago Cubs, and they trail the Philadelphia Phillies by 3.5 games in the National League wild card race. Now it gets tough, though, as the Snakes head out on the road, and they will open up a series tonight in Los Angeles against the red-hot Dodgers. The Dodgers, the leaders in the National League West at 80-49, which means they right now have a 12.5 game lead over your Arizona Diamondbacks, and it'll be Zach Gallen on the mound, but the Snakes have been very good when Zach Gallen goes to the hill. He's 14-5 on the year with a 3.11 ERA, and they've won his last 3 starts. He'll face Bobby Miller for the Blue, and Bobby Miller is 7-3 with a 386 earned run average. This game will be first pitch at 7:10. Let's give you your lines, courtesy of the Desert Diamond Casino. Even with Zach Gallen on the mound, the Dodgers are not favored tonight. I should say the Diamondbacks are not favored. The Dodgers are the favorite in this ball game at 143. So if you bet $20 on your Snakes tonight with Zach Gallen on the mound, he could net you some winnings at $24.60. So a plus bet, even with Zach Gallen on the mound tonight. Your over-under is at 8.5. I'm taking the under on this one at $30, and that's going to win you $26.70 tonight. Dodgers Diamondbacks first pitch at Dodger Stadium is 7:10. Number to get in on the program, 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. Tom, you are on DK on the Sports Tip, Wildcats Radio 1290.
Well, nice to finally meet you, sir.
Nice to finally meet you, Tom. Where are you calling from?
I called right here in Tucson.
All right, outstanding.
Aren't you a Buckeye?
I am a Buckeye. Buckeye born, Buckeye bred, and when I die, I'll be Buckeye dead.
Thank you very much. So am I. Yes, sir. So am I. That's why I've been wanting to call.
Now,
So,
where are you from? What Buckeye? What part of the Buckeye state are you from?
born in Cleveland and raised in Dayton for a little bit.
All right. Well, there you go. We've got something in common. We are both Cleveland, Ohio natives.
Yes, we are. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
It's beautiful.
And it's still Indian sleep. So
there you go. Our tribe.
Yeah, I'll call and tell you a story about that later. I'm actually kind of in a hurry, but so I read something today that picture that we got from the Padres, that Samad came in and did pretty well, and he had the balk that walked in to run.
Now, which game was this? Was one of the games over the weekend?
Yes, it was game before last Saturday's game, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We brought a guy in. I think we did a bullpen game. We brought a guy in, a veteran, had some issues, came in, struck out a couple, got it. There were a couple on. I don't remember if they were on because of him or a prior pitcher, but he moved his hand and it was a block. Well, he had somebody on third, so that was the 8-7.
Oh, so this was the 8-7 game.
Yes.
Okay.
So the man comes in, pitches real well, makes a mistake of a little block, and which is a big mistake because, it walked in the winning run. But when you have relievers like Castro, I'll name them all. Manaply, I call it Mr. Magoo, not McGuff. A lot of their relievers come in, even the closer that we got comes in and blows the game wide open for the other team consistently. I like Seawalt, but, I wish Martinez could find the strike zone more than he does, to say that.
Well, that was a tough night. That was a tough night because obviously you go into that ninth inning, you hand the ball to Paul Sewald, who is. It's interesting. He's kind of been shaky, but he's shaky, gets it done.
Yeah.
Shaky, but obviously Saturday night he didn't get it done, and now you got to bring more guys into play. And Castro was not good, and then like you said, Nabil Krismat was the guy you're talking about. The guy from San Diego made the big mistake there at the end.
He was also assigned right after the game.
Oh, he was designated for assignment?
Yes.
That's what I read today, and that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So, it was a mistake, a little mistake, but he pitches well. So what do? Do you get rid of him and bring all these relievers that can't throw, that are so inconsistent you don't know what you're going to get?
I think. For me, the biggest disappointment. For me, the biggest disappointment has been Joe Mantiply, because obviously he was a guy you thought was if not going to be your closer, was going to be a guy that you could depend on at the back end of the bullpen, and he just has not pitched well at all. I mean, heck, Kevin Ginkel has been nails.
Kevin Ginkel is the bartender. Is my favorite guy. Yes, of his days past, he was a bartender. You know that.
Oh yeah. You talking about Wilhelmsen, Tom Wilhelmsen?
No, I'm talking about Ginkel was a bartender here in Tucson.
Ginkel was a bartender?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm almost, but I think you can take that to the bank and get a couple change,
right.
back on that one.
Oh, I'll have to ask Ginkel that next time I talk to him.
Yeah, look at that, because I'm almost positive in between, because he was in baseball and I don't know, but somewhere along the line he was a bartender. I'm almost positive here in Tucson. Oh, there you go. But yeah, so what do? The guy makes a little mistake, but you got these closers and a closer and relievers that can't get the job done. Shouldn't you send them down and tell them to get their act together and then keep this guy? I mean, you can move them back and forth, but you see what I'm saying, though? It's unfair to the guy, but you keep on putting out these relievers that, you bless them when they go out and hope they can do throw at least a couple pitches.
Well, I'd have to see. I mean, obviously, I think Nabil Krismat was a short-term situation. I didn't see the corresponding move when they brought him up to see who they sent down. But I mean, and then you look at the situation where, again, I think, and a lot of times in baseball, when you get into a game like that where they used they used 7 guys out of their bullpen that night. I think it was 7. When you lose 7 relievers, I mean, you got to make a move. He pitched 2 innings, but you got to make a move to get another guy in there for the next couple of games. So somebody was going to go. It wasn't going to be Castro. It wasn't going to be Manaply, Sewald, or Ginkel. So he was the odd man out in that respect, and that was really more just a roster thing than anything else.
Well, I don't know if it was, David, because he was on the team already. He's already been on. They didn't, he wasn't in, pulled up. I don't know who they sent down for him. I don't know, because they're making a lot of room for Davies and some other stuff. So, but and also Longoria. They made some moves. So I don't know. I just think we have a bullpen that stinks.
Well, that's been the Achilles heel all season.
It's been the Achilles heel for years. We've had a pitching problem.
Yeah.
I just thought it's strange. I mean, you've got these guys that actually need to get to work and straighten some things out. You've got guys that better can actually pitch a ball. Leave them up here for a few games. Let somebody else get some training.
So just
You know,
looking at some of the information, Tom, it looks like he had been a starter at AAA Reno for most of the season. Got called up on the 19th, and as a long reliever because they've had a lot of bullpen games lately.
Right.
And the other thing is he's out of options. So that plays in it to it too. That's why he was designated. Now, if he had options left, they just sent him back down. But he was out of options. So again, when you're talking about a long guy, you know those guys just. I mean, again, unless you're an established long guy, you're just kind of one of those guys that kind of is there to provide a few innings when needed, and then you're either going to go back down or you're going to be on the wire.
So this was his last option to come up and stay.
Yeah, he was out of options, so that's why they had to designate him. Hey, Tom, I appreciate you checking in today.
It's not a problem. I'll be calling back more.
All right, we look forward to hearing from you. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290.
Tom has called in, I think, 5 times since you started hosting again, but we haven't had time to get him on because it's been right at the end of segment. So, yeah, Tom's a long-time caller.
Well, there you go. I'm glad that Tom is back with us, and we had a chance to finally get him on and hear his thoughts on the Diamondbacks, who are a game and a half up in that third wild card spot to start the night in their series in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Kricket joins us back here in the studio. Kricket, I think I may have asked you this question already, but have you played pickleball?
No, I haven't.
Okay, but you know what it is. It's like the fastest growing sport for people our age. Although it's interesting because I went to that Chicken Pickle. I was telling J-Dub, I went to this place called Chicken Pickle in Glendale, and it's like this huge pickleball complex, but they serve food there, and they've got other stuff. There were actually kids playing. There was a bunch of kids playing on one court, and I was seeing, me and my wife walked by, and we're like, don't they know that this sport is for old people?
Old people? We're not old. Oh, wait. Oh, my hip.
Yeah, I've seen kids play shuffleboard too, DK. So
shuffleboard. Oh my God,
that's an old person game.
Yeah,
as well. Big time. Yeah.
No. So Kricket, I went to, and we're running out of time, so I'm going to tell you this story real quick. Have you heard of the Vi Resort that they're putting up in Glendale?
No, I haven't.
Okay, this is supposed to be the most spectacular resort it's going to be the most spectacular resort in the United States.
Really?
1,100 rooms, suites, and villas. It's a live music venue with rooms. So they're building this music venue like this amphitheater, and you'll be able to watch shows from your room. They're putting in this massive pool. It's got an island in the middle of it. There's going to be 12 restaurants. There's going to be nightclubs. They're putting. We were driving by and we saw it was something that looked like a roller coaster. We're like, what's that roller coaster that they're building over there? And then we started looking it up. But yeah, it's supposed to be the most unbelievable entertainment complex in the entire world, and it's going to be right here in Arizona.
So somebody was like, what if every seat was a luxury box, basically?
Kind of. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, do you like fancy signature restaurants?
I've never, I don't think, probably ever really
like
been.
Wolfgang Puck or, those people?
Would you call any could you name a restaurant in town that might be considered kind of like, sort of like that, or?
Here in Tucson? Oh, gosh.
He could, but it might get some other people upset. That's the problem.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, okay, let's not talk about that.
Yeah,
then.
no, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there is a fancy restaurant that's kind of signature, but like, what's the Fox restaurant guys? They usually have had some high-end restaurants here in Tucson.
I think what Cricket's saying is she doesn't seek out a named chef to determine where she's going to go eat.
Okay, well.
If they have burgers, I'm down. Like the Trident.
How do you like your burger?
Like 2 pounds of patties.
2 pounds and how do you like it cooked?
Medium rare.
No, medium rare. Okay, I'm a well done. I can't have any red, and that's why I don't eat burgers out, because most people don't make burgers the way I like. My burger has to be well cooked, sometimes a little bit hard, and now that you've got these gigantic burger places, they just can't get it well enough for me to be able to eat it. So I don't usually eat a lot of burgers out. I'll only eat a burger at home. and cook it that way.
Trident might be able
Yes.
to make it just
Did you
right
know
for
that J-Dub is a connoisseur of cooking?
Is he?
Yes.
Yeah, cooking, making drinks, all of it. I mean, if you work at I worked at a restaurant for such a long time, it just kind of rubbed off. That's just how that works.
I knew that you were bartender, so I did kind of assume that. But interesting.
Do you grill?
No.
No?
No.
No?
No.
Who does the cooking at your house?
Trident Grills.
And there you go. Getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives is Cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. Some slowing southbound Alvernon at 5th Street, also westbound Grant Road at I-10. Collisions, a hit and run wreck at Sunrise Drive in Swan, Grant and Campbell. That's a busy intersection in the first place. And also 5th Street west of Rosemont clearing. There is an excessive heat warning until 9 tomorrow night. 15% chance of rain into the evening. 82 our overnight low. 104 partly cloudy now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
This report.
All right, the Wildcats getting set for the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks coming up on Saturday. You will hear that game right here on Wildcats Radio 1290. Our coverage starts at 2:30. Is that right, J-Dub? 2:30 on Saturday. We'll be out on the mall for the pregame show. And we'll take you from 2:30 until 5:30, and then the network will pick you up at 5:30 until kickoff at 7. We'll play some football, and then we'll join you late in the evening, as we always do, to wrap up the first night of Arizona football for the 2023 season.
I would assume it's going to start around 1 p.m. when you and Kelvin and Glenn are wandering around looking for some ribs to chew on before, but we go live on the air, at 2:30 p.m.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a lot of fun. Don't forget also, Bear Down Fridays is back this Friday prior to the first home game. We will be down at Illegal Pete's all season long on University Ave, getting you set for Arizona football. It's going to be a lot of fun down there. Come by, stop by, hang out, have a beverage, have a taco. Right there on the corner by the stage. It's going to be, because I've been really essentially involved in television for the last 12, I don't think I've been to Bear Down Friday since when I last worked at IMG College, which would have been the 2010 season. So I'm looking forward to getting back down to Bear Down Fridays and being around the people and seeing the band and the cheerleaders and who comes out to talk on the stage. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, our question of the day has been, and I think X is back, so we can give you some results on this right now.
X is back.
X is back, yes. How many wins for your Arizona Wildcats football team this season? Is it going to be 8, 7, 6, 5, or less? Right now, 42% of you saying 7 wins. 7-5 during the regular season for your Arizona Wildcats. That would get them to a bowl game, so they could potentially go to 8-5 if they win 7 in the regular season. They could also win 6 in the regular season, go 6-6 and win the bowl game, and finish with 7 wins. So 7 is the number. 42% of you saying 7. It's pretty even, J-Dub. 27 and 27% each saying 8 and 6. Nobody believes this team is going to win 5 games or less this year. Only 4% coming in at that.
Well, look, I mean, come on. The talent level, DK, in the past 2 classes is outrageous. And then you look at the transfers. I think last year they would have been bowl eligible if they just cut down on maybe 4 mistakes in third quarters along the way. They were very competitive. So I think the fans are right. I think the fans are looking to see them clean up a couple of those third, fourth quarters on tired legs and pull out some wins last year where maybe they didn't.
All right, here we go, J-Dub. We're going to go down the list here. WL. We'll start with Northern Arizona. I say W.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years, but that's a W. Payback's time.
Okay. Mississippi State, SEC on the road. New head coach there. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. Never easy to go and win in SEC country. When I told you when I first looked at the schedule, I said 8. I thought this might be a game that they could win, but I'm going to put an L there.
I think every other season for the past 7 that I've worked here, DK, I would have said loss. I don't know. I just think there's something about this group. I think they've got moxie, and I think that offense is insane. And I think that's the first statement game. If this group, DK, wants to make some noise nationally, going in to Starkville and beating Mississippi State would be that. So I'm going to say win. I'm going to say they're going to beat the Bulldogs, Mississippi State in game 2.
All right, UTEP at home, September the 16th. I'm marking that as a win.
That's a win.
Okay. So you're going 3-0 in the non-conference, J-Dub.
Well, I mean, it's not
3-0.
It's not Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, DK.
Okay, it's still the SEC. It's still not easy. Stark Vegas, not an easy place to go win.
If you're going to win a game on the road in the SEC, you got to pick at least once.
There you go. All right, Stanford on the road, September the 23rd. I'm going to say win there.
Yeah, yes, that's also a win for sure.
Okay. Home, September the 30th. Now it gets tough.
Real tough.
Home, September the 30th against Washington. You gotta win a game at home, but I don't think that's the one you're gonna win. I'm putting an L there.
Same. I'm with you. I just think Washington's been playing amazing. They got to really they're solid. So yeah, I think Washington wins that game.
At downtown Los Angeles, 2 days after my birthday. That's going to be a loss.
That's a loss, yeah.
Yeah, okay. At Washington State, October the 14th. Never an easy place to go and play.
Okay, so this has many levels and layers to it. This is the last Palouse trip.
Right.
I mean,
well, maybe.
Last Palouse trip as far as a schedule for the conference goes.
Unless you believe that now they might be headed to the Big 12.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
The bad thing I heard over the weekend, J-Dub, was the potential that the ACC wants Kansas. That's not a team you want leaving the Big 12 if you're Arizona.
One of the main reasons Arizona liked the idea of going over there, yeah.
All right, so Washington State, that's never a good place for this team to go win. Jaden DeLora, they handled him last year. I'm marking that as an L.
I will say they're going to win.
Okay.
They're going to win that game up at the Palouse.
Okay. All right. So you've got them right now at 5-2. I've got them at 3-4. All right. Home against Oregon State.
5-3.
So you think they're going to lose to Oregon State?
I do. Yes.
All right. I think they'll win that game. I think that's the game they got to win. I think it was either going to be Oregon State or Washington, and I think you got a better chance of beating Oregon State than you do of beating Washington. So I'm giving them a win there. UCLA for homecoming.
I mean, there'll be so much energy in that stadium, DK. If that's not a sellout, then I don't know what we're doing around here. But yeah, I think you got to beat the Bruins.
Got to beat the Bruins.
This is an emotional W for me, DK. You got to beat the Bruins on homecoming on the 4th of November.
I'm going to say a win against UCLA. At Colorado, you're not going to a bowl game if you lose at Colorado.
No, I don't think Colorado's going to be very good at all this year.
No.
So that's a win.
Okay. Home against Utah.
I got so much respect for what they do up there in Salt Lake City. I think that, especially their defensive line, I don't know. I think that's going to be a really tough game. I'll call that a loss.
Yeah, I'm going to go L against Utah as well. At an Arizona State team that yesterday announced they are imposing a 1-year bowl ban.
Nothing to play for.
Nothing to play for except for that game. And as Kenny Dillingham said, and you'll hear from Kenny in the next hour because we're going to take you right up to Jed Fish, you got to play for the seniors. I think this is finally the year that Arizona wins at Arizona State.
That game's already circled for them. Yeah. But, I mean, come on. I'm not going to pick the school up north to win that game ever, DK. I don't think I'm allowed to do that.
So you've got them at 8-4. You bought into that 8-win. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got them at 7-5.
I'm going to say 9-4.
Oh, bowl win. Big L. Okay, bowl win. Well, at 8-4, they're going to they're going to have a pretty good opponent in a bowl game at 8-4.
Take that momentum from the huge win up in Tempe, and then hopefully they match up against another SEC team. That's what I'm looking for.
I'll give them a bowl win too. So you'll say 9-4. I'll say 8-5 with a bowl win.
And if you thought the recruits were good the last few years, DK, with the 9-4 record, look out.
All right. So I said 8 in the spring, and I'm at 7 to start the season. All right. We are going to come back and take you right up to Jed Fish's radio show at 6:05. Hopefully you're on your way to Union Public House. It's going to be an exciting night of football up there. He is J.W. Madden. I am David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet.